I'm Andrew Cephas, the Public Information Officer for the Prince George's County Department of Corrections. Here at the Department of Corrections, we're a family, and some members of this family have been here for longer than I've been alive. We're taking time to recognize many of these individuals by sitting down to do milestone interviews. I hope you enjoy this new interview series. I'm Andrew Cephas, the Public Information Officer for the Prince George's County Department of Corrections, and I'm here with
Master Corporal Richardson, ID 58.
So today we have another milestone interview, and a lot of people have been requesting this interview since we started this series, mainly because you're our most senior officer, and a lot of people just wanted to hear what you had to say about your experience here. So just to get started, how long have you been with the Department of Corrections?
As of today, 41 years.
Okay, congratulations.
Thank you.
What got you into corrections?
Back in '78, I put an application in with the Sheriff's Department. I got hired, but I got hired as a correctional officer instead of a deputy sheriff in '78 when they created the Corrections Department.
So are you from this area? Are you local?
I'm from North Carolina.
Okay.
I'm right outside of Rocky Mount, North Carolina.
Okay, so how did you end up in Maryland?
I came up here at the age of 14, and I came up here with my mom back when I was around 14 years old.
What was it like working in the old jail?
When I first started work here, I had no idea of what a jail setting was. Back then, it was crowded, it was loud, we had a lot of incidents. On midnight shift I started, we only had maybe 16, 17 officers on one shift. Wow. With 800 inmates. We had booths.
Okay.
We had 3 levels, 1, 2, and 3 levels. And the officer would sit in the glass booth, and he had a panel, and he would control the gates on the A side, and he would control side on the B side. And each side had 35, 40 inmates in there. And it wasn't that many cells, so they were sitting out in the day area also. So he really didn't interact as far as like we do now, but we control them through a mic and a panel, and that was it. I started on midnight shift with Sergeant John Fiddler. He taught me everything that I know today.
So what were some of the main differences between the old jail and how things are currently run? How were the uniforms for officers and things like that?
Back in the old jail?
Yes.
When we first started, we didn't have any uniforms. We wear our own clothes. We would put our badge around our neck or on our waist. We came in with regular street clothes until we got uniforms. We didn't really get any uniforms for maybe 6 months after I started. We didn't even have a P&P. We did it as we came along in the department. Our upper management created the P&P. We were more consistent back then. We could work a shift, and what we did on, say, shift 2, shift 3 would carry it on. So it was good consistency there as far as carrying the units out. The camaraderie was great. Every officer backed each other. We needed something, we were there for each other.
In this current facility, is there anything specifically you would say that is run better compared to how things were back in the old jail?
I probably would say by the officers being in a setting like we are now, they have a little bit more better control of incidents, how the inmates are interacting with one another. Their behavior, because they're really up close and personal right now. Back in the old jail, you're behind a glass and you really don't feel what's going on inside the units because you're in this bubble in the glass. You don't know what's going on in there.
Did the inmates back in the old jail behave differently compared to how inmates behave now?
Yes.
How so?
They were more aggressive back then. If an inmate says that he's going to do something to you, he did it. So they were pretty aggressive back then. And we had to do what we had to do to maintain order.
So there were women back in the old jail as well? Or?
We had a women's section. That was section E, D and E.
Okay.
And we might have had maybe, if my memory serves me right, maybe 50, 60 women there. And it was crowded back there too because we only had 2 sections back there.
So over your 41 years with the department, I know you served in different roles and responsibilities. So could you name some of them that you've had over the years?
Well, one, I was an acting sergeant for 4 years. I was a supervisor over in the DWI facility where we had the work release program. I ran that for 2 years. I was on ERT for 20 years.
Oh, wow.
We started ERT 1989, and I started it in 89, and I came off in 2006.
So do you see a lot of differences between how ERT was ran when it first started compared to now?
Yes. I would probably say ERT now compared to back then, you had to be a little bit more careful in handling the inmates now than you did back then. I think you have to have a little bit more patience, a little bit more time with them to get them to do what you want to do right now. Back then, we just went on and acted and quelled the situation right then.
Back then, were there any sort of recording for ERT when it first started?
No, not when it first started, no.
Okay.
Back, like right now, say an inmate can say, well, he did this to me, he did that to me. But if it's on video and it's on sound, it didn't happen. So, I mean, it has its benefits.
Over the years, have you had any sort of position that was your favorite?
I like training.
Okay.
Sometimes we would have in-service, or we would have a new academy class, and I would go over and teach some classes. I enjoyed that because I could share my experience and what I went through with them. And I hope that they take heed to it. In case they run into something that I ran into, they can handle it. I liked being an ERT leader. I was an ERT leader for a while. I enjoyed that. Basically, I just like sharing the knowledge. You know, things that I've gone through and had to solve, I just like to pass it on to other officers too. In case they run into it, they know how to handle it or deal with it.
Has working in the Department of Corrections, has it been what you expected? Or has it surprised you in the way things have gone?
When we came in back in 1987, February of 87, to this setting, we didn't know what to expect. We didn't know how we was going to relate to the inmates as far as one-on-one instead of behind a glass.
Right.
We didn't know how they was going to come off at us, our safety. But working with them and adjusting and adapting, we made it work.
Okay. Was that a rough transition or?
Not for me.
Okay.
But we did have some officers that had some issues with it, and it took some time for them to adjust and adapt to it.
Over your years here with the Department of Corrections, do you have any event, incident, or situation that is your most memorable, something you'll never forget?
Yeah. I can't recall the year, but we took a trip to Pennsylvania. It was Moundsville. It was a training seminar with a lot of corrections facilities in the United States. We were there for a week. That was a great experience that we had for all our team members that we had. We did scenarios. We did things and equipment that we used there that we don't use now.
Oh, okay.
So that week in Moundsville, Pennsylvania was great. I enjoyed it, interacting with other correction facilities and their people, and getting some training with them too.
Okay. What's your favorite part about working in corrections?
I like to teach. I like sharing knowledge.
Okay.
That's what I like pretty much doing, sharing the knowledge. Because people shared knowledge with me, and it helped me in my career.
In your opinion, what's the most difficult part about working in this type of environment?
I wouldn't say it's the inmates. It's probably your co-workers. I would probably say the co-workers, because everybody has a different attitude, so you have to adjust to that.
Okay. What would you say is the most important thing you've learned over your career?
Interacting with people. Everybody has a different behavior, their attitude, and you have to learn people's behaviors and attitudes. It's just basically just people, dealing with people.
Do you have any advice for new officers who are just coming into the Department of Corrections?
It's a good career, it is. Learn as much as you can in this department. Every position, every post.
Okay.
And you'll be a well-rounded officer then.
It makes sense. So those are all the questions I have for you. Was there anything else you wanted to add in?
No, I doing this for 41 years and been through all the positions and worked just about everything here. No, I've just done hit at everything.
All right, thanks for coming for the interview today. I
All
really
right.
appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.
Hey, Rich, for the camera, let's see your numbers, man.
You want to see the numbers?
Yeah.
My hands have been swollen and cracked, but this is what they look like after 41 years.
41 years of correction.
Yeah. That's one good thing this department did. On midnight shift, 11 o'clock, they say, Richardson here is Sergeant Philly. He's going to train you. That was the best move this department did for me.
Wow, saying a lot.
Yeah. That was the best thing they did, was to assign me to him on midnight shift. Best thing in the department done. And everything that he knew, because he was with the sheriff's department,
Okay.
everything, his knowledge and everything that he shared, he gave it to me and we ran with it.